This is the weekly business news in English on TV3. I am Nugzar Rukhadze. How do you do? Yesterday, the agreement on association with the European Union was ratified by the Parliament of Georgia. The document received unanimous support on the part of all members of the Parliament. 123 deputies voted for the agreement between the European Union and the European Alliance of Atomic Energy and its member states in Georgia. Minister of Foreign Affairs Maya Panjikidze acquainted the members of Parliament with the essence and key aspects of the agreement. Minister of Economy and Sustainable Development, Georgi Kvirikashvili, spoke about the significance of all-inclusive trade with the Euro Union and pointed out the measures which should be taken by Georgia in this respect. After the ministers, members of the Parliament took the floor. The second half of the special parliamentary session began with the speeches of invited guests. Prime Minister Irakli Garibashvili was the first to mount the rostrum. Once again, he addressed Abkhazians and Ossetians. The Premier stressed that the agreement on association is, in effect, on entire territory of Georgia. Accordingly, we express our readiness to share the opportunities and advantages of the agreement on association with all Georgian citizens, residents of Abkhazia and Tskhinvali, South Ossetia, Garibashvili said. The Euro Union Commissioner Stefan Füle talked about the importance of the agreement on association and its estimated benefits. The ministers of foreign affairs of Latvia and Bulgaria and the chairman of the Parliament of Austria congratulated the Georgian people on the occasion of Georgia's rapprochement with Europe. In his speech, President Georgi Margvelashvili also congratulated the Georgian people with the unanimous ratification of the most important document. I would like to thank all those people who were engaged in this long work and successfully coped with it. I want to congratulate Europe and Europeans, and above all Georgians, with the fact that as of today, Europe became even more powerful, more stable, and culturally more diversified. The parliamentary session was attended by the members of diplomatic corps accredited in Georgia. Following the procedure of voting, the event was solemnly celebrated at the Parliament. Free economic zones are supposed to be created in the occupied Abkhazia and the Tskhinvali region. According to the disseminated information, they presume to set up a trade center that will be similar to the Ergneti marketplaces, which will be multi-effective establishments complying with modern standards. Concrete details of the project are still unknown, although, as they say, the work on the program is underway. As soon as this information leaked out, a presumption cropped up that along with setting up the Ergneti-like marketplaces, the current administration is contemplating to restore the Abkhazian railway. However, the Minister of Foreign Affairs did not confirm the assumption. She said that it could happen only if Georgia shows interest in that issue. Meanwhile, the people who live near the occupied territories are waiting for the opening of trade centers, insisting that trade links may play an important role in bringing together Georgians, Abkhazians, and Ossetians. Yet, who knows? Will Abkhazians and Ossetians express interest in this initiative, or will they ignore it? In addition, Russia's attitude towards this move is also vague. Will the Kremlin allow establishing closer relations between the people who live on the occupied territories and the rest of the Georgian population?
This is not the issue of discussion with Karasin. It is our business what kind of establishment we open on our territory. It is our job. Let's see how it works. Anyway, it looks like an interesting initiative.
After signing the agreement on association with the Euro Union, the European Union gave a recommendation to Georgia to get closer to the people who live on the occupied territories and set up trade links with them, along with encouraging free travel, investments, and revision of the law on occupied territories. This recommendation makes up one of the issues out of 11 points in the chapter on peaceful settlement of the conflict. Representatives of national movement who closed the Erganeti marketplace on account of it being a black hole and trading place with smuggled goods refrained from making comments on this point. However, the members of parliamentary minority criticized the revision of the law on occupied territories. National movement argues that Euro Union does not demand revision of the law in question. But Zakharishvili, State Minister for Reconciliation and Equal Civil Rights Issues, argues that the law on occupation should oppose the occupation, not the population who live on the occupied territories. The Georgian administration's aim is to ease their life, movements, and activities. The amendments to the law were initiated at the beginning of last year, but they were met with protests on the part of parliamentary minority. After the first hearing, the discussions on the revision of the law have been shelved. According to Zurab Abashidze, Special Representative of Prime Minister for Relations with Russia, the Russian companies are interested in the Georgian railway. After a session of the government, Abashidze told the journalist that Russian companies are keen on using Georgian railway for delivering the transit cargo to the ports of Poti and Batumi. As for the issue of restoring the Georgian railway with incorporation of its Abkhazian section, Abashidze declared that the point was not discussed during his negotiations with Grigory Karasin, Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs of Russian Federation. According to the agreement between Georgian and Azeri railways, as of July the 15th, on the railway section of Poti-Baku Railway, the so-called block trains began to make special trips. Cargo from Poti is delivered to Baku in 34 hours, so the new measure will significantly discharge the heavy traffic on the highway. At the Georgian railway, they talk about the economic profit as well. They estimate the additional income of about $12 million. In the words of the Director General of the railway, in future they intend to launch the sections of Poti-Baku Almaty and Poti-Baku China. The new railway line was officially inaugurated in Poti. Apart from the Georgian side, the event was attended by the representatives of the Azeri Railway and the German operator company Intermod-Trans. Now the bad news for the railway passengers. Georgian Railway increased the fare for the tourist season, which caused public dissatisfaction. As of July the 10th, trip in the compartment of Batumi night train cost 28 lari instead of 20 lari. The same trip in the day train costs 40 lari instead of 25 lari. At the Georgian Railways, they explain that the ticket prices have not been increased. The point is that till July the 10th, the ticket price cut down was in force. As yet, fare change has affected only the trips to Batumi. The new tariff for Tbilisi-Batumi trips will be in force for 2 months. At the aerodrome of Natakhtari, Prime Minister of Georgia, Irakli Garibashvili, made an official statement on launching Mestia-Tbilisi air flights. Functioning of Natakhtari-Mestia air flights will enhance the motivation of tourists to visit Svaneti, the Premier said in his speech delivered at the Natakhtari aerodrome. He stressed that he was glad that air flights to Mestia would resume after the several-year-long interruption. The Georgian air company, Service Air, is scheduled to perform 3 flights per week to Mestia and back.
During the upcoming 3 years, we intend to encourage the air flights by limited subsidies to enable the air company to perform as many expensive flights as possible. Besides the fact that the flights to Mestia are absolutely comfortable, it cuts down the 7 to 8 hour trip to 45 minutes. At the same time, we brought down the ticket price as much as possible.
The average price of the flight is 130 lari. Minister of Economy Georgi Kvirikashvili believes that this price for a 2-way ticket is quite affordable for the Svanetian population. Speaking about the future plans, Kvirikashvili pointed out that the administration plans to build up the network of small airports and restore the forgotten tourist routes that were earlier viewed as traditional tourist routes. The Wissol company gained the exclusive right to supply the fuel of Greek company Echo and use its trademark. Representatives of the 2 companies have signed the respective agreement. 4 years ago, Echo left the Georgian market due to technical reasons and left its filling stations to the Gulf company. Director General of Echo says that Wissol provided all necessary conditions to the Greek company for its re-entry into the Georgian market. Most likely, the foreign companies that deal with express dispatch and cargo forwarding will leave Georgia. If the current version of the bill on postal connections is approved by the Parliament. According to the representatives of the international companies, in case the Georgian Post is proclaimed a national operator, their companies will be left without a significant market. If the Georgian Post is granted the exclusive right to dispatch packages less than 30 kilograms, the companies intend to appeal to a court of justice. In the words of the executive director of NGO International Transparency Georgia, if the given version of the bill is adopted, the international companies will take legal action by all means. Meanwhile, the state will face the reality, which indicates that it has adopted a witless decision contradicting international standards, which will have a negative effect on the country's economic development. Recently, they disclosed one of the Afghan heroin transit routes via Georgia to Europe. According to the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Georgia, as a result of a special operation, they have confiscated almost 3 tons of liquid heroin, which was brought by a trailer from Azerbaijan to Georgia. In the opinion of experts, 80 to 92% of heroin on the world market is of Afghan origin. Its transit route passes the territories of Pakistan, Central Asia, and Iran. According to the data provided by the United Nations and the U.S. State Department, one of the segments of the world drug route goes through Georgia. The Afghan heroin passes Iran, then it goes through the territory of Azerbaijan, and then it arrives in Georgia. From here, it goes to Europe by two main routes, Romanian and Ukrainian ones, although part of the narcotics turns up in Turkey too. Expert Mamuka Areshidze believes that Russia is also involved in this business. One of the points, one of the spots where they package and prepare the drug for its Russian consumers is the Abkhazian town of Ochamchire, thinks the expert.
It takes place in Ochamchire, on the territory of former thermal electric station. It used to work according to the following routine. Every week, a military helicopter would land on the territory of thermal station. It would be loaded with the drug that was packed in leather bags, and then it flew away to the Krasnodar region.
As per diverse data, annually over 100 tons of heroin pass the territory of our neighboring country. Former head of Transitional Crime Research Center believes that Turkey is the regional leader in this field. Meanwhile, despite its geographic location, Georgia is not an active segment of the key drug transit route.
According to the information of the United Nations organization, about 53% of drug trafficking used to take place on the territory of Turkey, and then those narcotics used to move to Europe, while a little part of drugs entered Azerbaijan and then it came to Georgia.
In our country, there are organizations who study the Afghan heroin route that passes Georgia. In 2009, the Party of Greens published a special research to that end. However, leader of the party, Gia Gachechiladze, says that at that time, the powers that be ignored the research of his party. He remembers that every year from Georgian port of Poti, about 7 tons of drugs used to go to Europe. As for the former administration, it was directly involved in this business. The Georgian Prime Minister responded to the successful operation of detaining the big batch of heroin and remarked that by that feat, the Ministry of Internal Affairs has established a record in the country as well as in the entire region. The previous record was set up in 2013 when 116 kilograms of Afghan heroin was seized on the territory of Akhaltsikhe. Experts believe that most likely, thanks to this successful operation, the Georgian route will not look as attractive to the drug traffickers as it did before. In Zugdidi, National Tourism Administration acquainted local NGOs with the details of Kazantip Musical Festival and new tourist routes designed in Samegrelo. In the words of Georgi Sigua, 12,000 beds are booked at the family-type hotels in Anaklia and its adjoining villages.
If we succeed to turn the Black Sea coast of Samegrelo into the youth tourist center on a regional scale as well as on a global scale, naturally, all local residents will be employed. They will be able to sell their produce there. They are building an agrarian market which will be open the clock round.
The Tourism Administration is already working on the project, which envisages that the Kazantip Festival will go on not for 10 days, but for several months. Updated Georgian cuisine, pleasant and cozy interior, Georgian ethno-jazz. This is the paraphernalia that was brought together in the old town by the company Shukhman Wine, Georgia. Being one of the leading wine-producing enterprises in Georgia, the company also offers tourist services to wine devotees at the chateau-type hotels and restaurants in Kakheti as well. In the historic building of Caravanserai, the Schuchman Wine Bar meets its guests with highly qualified staff and enjoyable environment.
Our aim was to open in Tbilisi a facility with high service, which would attract the clientele. Hopefully, the upcoming tourist season, our guests will have the opportunity to spend time at one more interesting place.
With its furnishings, its chairs made in the shape of wine press and old-fashioned special clay lamps, the Schuchman Wine Bar offers different services and unique environment to foreign tourists and local guests. All this paraphernalia creates the cozy atmosphere in the bar. At the same time, the Schuchman Bar intends to regularly host professional wine tasting in which qualified sommeliers will participate.
In the Schuchman Bar, they will treat you to delicious dishes, extraordinary milieu, high-class service and unique interior. We offer tasty white and red wines, produced by the European method as well as by Georgian traditional kveveri method.
The Schuchman Wine Bar is located in the historic area of Old Tbilisi and plays the role of a cozy relief from the tourist hurly-burly. At the same time, it serves a good cause of promotion of Georgian wine and cuisine. Well, that's all today. You are watching the weekly business news in English on Channel 3 of the Georgian television. Thank you very much for being with us. I am Nugzar Ukhadze. I'll be back on the air again in a week's time, which is next Saturday morning at exactly AM right here at TV3. Until then, have a great week.